Hi, this is Nancy Buswell, and you are listening to the Listen and Repeat series on the Speckled Band. This is number 1, and this is Sherlock Holmes. I had considered using a Sherlock Holmes short story before, and I didn't because I thought, it might be too long. So first of all, I did Gift of the Magi, which is a quite short story. Then I did To Build a Fire, which had 12. Gift of the Magi had 6. To Build a Fire had 12 episodes. This one, I'm not sure how many it will have, of course, but it'll be more than 12. However, I know that people like Sherlock Holmes, so that's why I'm doing this. Why did I choose the Speckled Band? Well, I did a search on Google for Sherlock Holmes short stories, and I happened to find a website that gave a ranking of his novels and short stories. And the number 1, that is the most popular short story, is The Speckled Band. So that's why I chose it. Most popular or best? I think the ranking was what people considered the best. That's right, the best short story about Sherlock Holmes. So this is called The Adventure of the Speckled Band. Listen and repeat. Try to copy how my voice goes up and down. Copy my pronunciation also. Listen and repeat after me. On glancing over my notes of the 70-odd cases in which I have, during the last 8 years, studied the methods of my friend Sherlock Holmes, I find many tragic, some comic, a large number merely strange, but none commonplace. For, working as he did rather for the love of his art, than for the acquirement of wealth, he refused to associate himself with any investigation which did not tend towards the unusual, and even the fantastic. Of all these varied cases, however, I cannot recall any which presented more singular features than that which was associated with the well-known Surrey family of the Roylotts of Stoke Moran. That could be pronounced Moran, not sure. Stoke Moran, maybe. The events in question occurred in the early days of my association with Holmes, when we were sharing rooms as bachelors in Baker Street. It is possible that I might have placed them upon record before. but a promise of secrecy was made at the time. From which I have only been freed during the last month by the untimely death of the lady to whom the pledge was given. It is perhaps as well that the facts should now come to light. For I have reasons to know that there are widespread rumors as to the death of Dr. Grimsby Roylett, which tend to make the matter even more terrible than the truth. It was early in April in the year 83, that I woke one morning to find Sherlock Holmes standing, fully dressed, by the side of my bed. He was a late riser, as a rule, and as the clock on the mantelpiece showed me, that it was only 7:15, I blinked up at him in some surprise. And perhaps just a little resentment. For I was myself regular in my habits. "Very sorry to knock you up, Watson," said he. Now, keep in mind, this was written quite a long time ago. To knock up has changed meanings. Obviously here, to knock you up means to wake you up in the morning, I guess. I mean, that's what it seems to mean from the context. To knock up now means for a girl to get pregnant, especially an unplanned pregnancy. So, to say, she got knocked up means she got pregnant and it wasn't really planned. And that's informal and a little not nice. But here, of course, this was quite a long time ago, and it obviously means to wake up, or to wake up unexpectedly. But it's the common lot this morning. Mrs. Hudson has been knocked up. She retorted upon me. Retorted is quite old language. We don't use it much. And I on you. What is it then? A fire? No, a client. It seems that a young lady has arrived in a considerable state of excitement, who insists upon seeing me. She is waiting now in the sitting room. Now, when young ladies wander about the metropolis, metropolis means the big city, at this hour of the morning, and knock sleepy people up out of their beds, I presume that it is something very pressing which they have to communicate. Should it prove to be an interesting case, you would, I am sure, wish to follow it from the outset. I thought, at any rate, that I should call you and give you the chance. My dear fellow, I would not miss it for anything. I had no keener pleasure than in following Holmes in his professional investigations. And in admiring the rapid deductions as swift as intuitions, and yet always founded on a logical basis. With which he unraveled the problems which were submitted to him. I rapidly threw on my clothes. And was ready in a few minutes to accompany my friend down to the sitting room. A lady dressed in black and heavily veiled. Veiled or heavily veiled means she has some kind of a covering over her face. Often worn by, at that time, often worn by widows, women whose husbands had died, who had been sitting, or worn by people who, women who, they don't want people to know who they are, who had been sitting in the window, rose as we entered. It could be that wearing a veil was the custom of that time also. I'm not sure. "Good morning, madam," said Holmes cheerily. "My name is Sherlock Holmes. This is my intimate friend and associate, Dr. Watson. Before whom you can speak as freely as before myself." I am glad to see that Mrs. Hudson has had the good sense to light the fire. Pray draw up to it, and I shall order you a cup of hot coffee. For I observe that you are shivering. It is not cold which makes me shiver, said the woman in a low voice, changing her seat as requested. What then? It is fear, Mr. Holmes. It is terror. She raised her veil as she spoke. And we could see that she was indeed in a pitiable state of agitation. Her face all drawn and gray, with restless, frightened eyes, like those of some hunted animal. Her features and figure were those of a woman of 30. But her hair was shot with premature gray, and her expression was weary and haggard. Sherlock Holmes ran her over with one of his quick, all-comprehensive glances. And in the next episode, we will hear what Sherlock Holmes has to say about her just by looking at her. So that's all for today. I hope you found this useful, and I hope you have a good day.